Robert, I'd like to just talk to you about you for just a minute, because I always like to, see where people come from and how they got to where they're at. And just as a personal note, me and you met at Apple. We both worked at Apple together, and I thought you were crazy leaving Apple and going off and making your own business, and here you are, years later, and wow, what a story it's been. But I want you to tell everybody, you started in college in filmmaking, and just how you got to Apple and then how you got to creative IT, because I think it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So filmmaking was always a passion of mine. It's what I always wanted to be. It wasn't until college that I realized, nope, not for me. And I think that's true for a lot of people in a lot of things, but that was certainly true for me. Apple at the time, I was actually working on a film production and I was helping the production crew spec out their editing suite to be able to work on the editing portion in post production for the film. And while there, I caught the attention of one of the managers. So they asked me to come back in for an interview, offered me a job. I started working for Apple, worked for them in a bunch of different places, spent some time in Cupertino, and then left Apple to say, hey, I'm going to do my own thing, because entrepreneurship, filmmaking, part of that entrepreneurship has always been in my blood. Started this company, rebranded a couple times, and Creative IT is the organization as it stands today that we've transformed to, and basically built an entire organization that started off purely as IT. Hey, we're going to help you with your infrastructure, your support, your end users. And one of the biggest things that people said they needed was fast response time. We ended up, because I came from Apple, working with a lot of companies that used Mac. A lot of them were advertising agencies. And one thing about advertising agencies, when they have a deadline, they have a deadline. They have to get that out to the printer, that deadline. So the number one thing they said to me is, hey, we have IT, whether it's in-house, whether it's an outsourced company, but it takes them hours, even the in-house, to get around to it. We can't have that. Literally back then, there was no tools to do this. So we built a tool that would sit on the computer and allow someone to just quickly click. And you remember those days, they can click and get right to somebody. And we've maintained an average 5-minute response time from all the way back in 2012 when we started. The cool thing is that's morphed. So when companies started to go remote, those issues of how do we hire? How do we fire? How do we ship? How do we receive? How do we train? How do we get policies and paperwork digital? Those were all really real life issues that our clients had. And we said, this is something we can solve. It's not IT, but we can solve it. And that created what is now known as the remote operating system that allows these organizations to run remote. And the cool thing is we've had a handful of organizations that have joined us at the 15, 20 people. And most of those organizations now are close to 100, if not over it. And I've been told personally by many of their leaders, they could not have done it without us. They would have had to hire 12, 13 IT people just to manage the shipping, onboarding, offboarding, logistics, and they're paying us less than they'd pay one person.
Uh, I want to put you on the spot here, and now that you've been a leader here in creative IT, for all the leaders out here listening, what's one mistake that you made that you learned from and is changing the game now?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've made over time and learned from is just trying to stay status quo, trying to say, hey, we've got this thing. It's perfect. You can't ever do that, whether it's a process, whether it's a team, whether it's a system. You have to be willing to adapt. So I got bit by that really early on, realized that what I thought was correct and what had worked for a couple of years wasn't going to work anymore. And that's why we've just always now continuously reinvented. So and I've heard this from many business owners, your business is great and something outside of your control, economic happens, or the world suddenly closes overnight. You have to be willing to pivot real quick and be okay with what changes that brings to the organization.
What's one thing now that you wish you would have known when you started creative IT?
Don't wear so many hats. Shed them as quick as you can. Stop trying to do everything. There's a famous quote out there that basically goes something to the effect of every hat you're wearing is actually money you're taking out of someone else's pocket. So hiring people, paying them, you're putting people to work. You got to stop wearing every hat. And that's true of most every remote team you and I talk to, right? There's
Yeah.
someone, usually in operations, that's wearing like 12 hats, and bless them, but you got to stop wearing all the hats.
And just, I like to talk to a lot of leaders and ask them, did you have any idea that when you were, let's say 5 or 6, that you would be running a company or leading a company right now? And was there ever anything in your childhood that was like, "Yep, that's probably what I wanna be doing?" I'd just like to I think everybody'd like to hear that.
Entrepreneurship wise, yes. I thought that would be in like a filmmaking, like production director sort of thing. But I backed up. I was the youngest of three. My sister's 9 years older. My brother's 5 years older. So I was left to my own. We were all at different stages of life. So when I was little, we backed up to a golf course, and I remember going out there one summer and starting with lemonade and iced tea, and then moving up to going to a wholesale club and buying soda. And that was really fun. It was really fun to just do something and be productive, but B, make some money. So it was really cool when a foursome came up and this guy pulls out a wad of cash and is like, if you could break this $100, you can keep it. And I pulled out a bigger wad of cash and was like, yeah, all right. So his golfing buddies were cracking up at that. And I think he paid $100 for like 3 cents.
No, that's profit. That's profit.
Pay for some good Legos throughout the time. But yeah.
You love your Legos. You got some cool
Oh, yeah.
ones too.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that was instrumental in your development as a leader, maybe when you were younger or maybe in your professional life now, that you can point to and say it was they were there for you, that they give you the guidance that you needed in rough times?
Yeah. My father's always been a big influence on me. So he had his own business for a period of time. He's always been in senior leadership. So, that was a big influence on me as far as how I run my business today. Apple has a whole lot to do with that. Their culture is like nothing else. And it's ingrained in me, in my DNA from my time there, and has been how I believe that things should run. So it's how I run this organization. It's all about the people. My job is to take care of my staff. They're going to take care of the clients, and the clients will hopefully take care of the business. And it just comes all circle.
That's great.